You already have a great game, but to make it truly successful and to earn the best reviews, you've got to have the latest bells and whistles that users will expect. I'm Chris Bowen, and this week we'll be looking at making a good game awesome by using new features in Windows 8. We'll look at live tiles and notifications to engage players, the search and share contracts to connect with other players and apps, and ways to save and synchronize game state across devices using the cloud. It's not hard to use these features, and your players will appreciate them, so let's get started. If you imagine the user's start screen as a city street lined with shops, and your game is just one of many storefronts clamoring for attention, what can you do to catch the user's attention and convince them to step through your door? Your game's live tile is your storefront, so any time you take to make it great will pay off with players who play more often and are happily connected with your game. We all know that happy players can equal good reviews in the Windows Store. Live tiles are a way to interact with your players, giving them updates over time, even when they're not playing. You can share whatever you think will be interesting to the player, their high score, when they last played, or even tempt them back in by letting them know friends are playing. You create live tiles by simply choosing from a library of 46 templates with wide and square formats, then linking simple XML to show the user what you'd like, and telling Windows to do the rest. You can even have Windows animate through multiple pages of details using the peek animation. You can send updates to the live tile either locally from the same machine or remotely from a server using Windows push notification services to send updates to one or many players. And if you're worried about setting up, configuring, and coding a remote service, the newly announced Windows Azure Mobile Services can help. Literally in minutes, you can have everything up and running, whether to send updates to live tiles, track things in the game world, or store your game's leaderboard. You can get started with a 90-day Windows Azure trial to reduce the hassle of creating remote services. Live tiles are a great way to let users know about interesting things and encourage them to jump back in and keep playing. But what if they're not on the start screen or are running some other app? Toast notifications are the answer. They let you tell the user about something happening in the game world by briefly showing a message in the corner of the screen. For example, you could tell them their base is under attack, and simply by clicking on the toast, they can jump right back into the game. As a developer, the good news is, if you've created a live tile, you already know the basics of how to create a toast notification. Simply choose a template, create your XML, and let Windows do the rest. And like live tiles, you can use the Windows Azure Mobile Services to take care of the remote work. Take care though, toast notifications are powerful, so use them only for urgent updates. Otherwise, you risk annoying the user with interruptions they don't find interesting. For example, you probably wouldn't notify a player when other players get a high score, but they'd want to know when someone beats their own high score. Send them an update, and they'll be back. Players love to share. From bragging about high scores to telling buddies about their latest achievements, Windows 8 can make it easy with the share contract. The player simply chooses the share charm from the charms bar, and Windows will show a list of apps that can work with whatever's being shared, whether it's text, a picture, or other things. And sharing is great for developers too, because we don't have to write a ton of code. Just write the code to send data to the share contract, and Windows takes it from there. The best part is, it's the other app that knows how to handle what's shared, not our game. Our game provides the data, and Windows connects the player to the other app to do the rest. A share source is any app with something to share, and a share target is the app being shared to. In this example, the Games app is the share source. We choose an achievement we'd like to brag about, bring up the charms bar, and select share. The user chooses the app that will be the share target, Windows connects them with the app, and when things are done, they're right back to your game. Another helpful contract is the search contract, which lets people search your game from anywhere in Windows. You want to use this instead of creating your own in-app search interface because players will be used to using search with other apps. The results are displayed within your game so you control the experience. A good example of this would be the ability to search for fellow gamers we know inside our game. And by the way, integrating our game with Xbox Live services would enable us to show our friends' avatars as well. But we'll get to that next week. To get you started, there are samples for both search and share at the Dev Center. A great Windows Store game will always return you exactly where you left it. But if your game can be suspended or terminated at any time, how do you do this? Also, many of your players will have more than one Windows 8 device, so as they move from one to another, your game and their progress should follow along. Imagine playing your game on a tablet PC during the evening train ride home from work. When the player gets home, they fire up the game on their home desktop and find all their progress is there, ready to go. So how can we do these things? First, the application data object makes it easy to save simple data. Use its local settings to save temporary things on the current machine, like the current game time. Roaming settings are shared across all devices where the player installs your game and uses the same Microsoft account. This way, you can keep the player's settings and progress, highest level unlocked, their character's attributes and inventory, and so on, updated everywhere they play your game. The best part is, we don't have to manage this. Windows will take care of roaming everything for us. You can also use the Windows RT file-based APIs to save your game's state. This is good for more complex and larger things that you need to save and load. And our new friend, Windows Azure Mobile Services, can be very handy in these cases as well. Whatever approach you choose, you can plug into an event that's fired if Windows suspends your game. This is your chance to save the game's state, but you should also save every so often as the game is running, like when each level of a puzzle is finished. You'll have less data to save when the game suspends, and also protect the player if for some reason the machine shuts down suddenly and you don't get a chance to save all of their data. Remember, a happy gamer is one that doesn't have to repeat things, unless they choose to, of course. So far, you've seen how to design and develop a compelling game, and how to light it up with Windows 8 features. Next week, we'll look at how you can test and package your game to submit it to the Windows Store. We'll also look at ways you can make money with your game once you publish it. Be sure to check the daily tips and the Windows Dev Center website for more information on making a great Windows Store game. And remember, games are about competition, but not just for the players. You're competing with other game developers for player attention. Now get out there and win!